To expand our testing capacity and to improve our understanding of this virus, there are two developments that I wanted to share with you today. The first is around swab tests. These are the tests that tell you if you currently have coronavirus. As I announced on Monday, anybody over 5 who has symptoms is now eligible for a test. And getting a test is important, but getting a quick result is important too. We're working hard on innovative developments, and I wanted to bring you up to speed with this. Now, it's really important to be clear about this. Working with innovative science always has its risks. Like all R&D, lots of projects don't come off. And just like, for instance, vaccines, where we don't know if we'll ever get one, but I'm prepared to back innovative developments even if they might never happen. I think it's worth it. And I think it's worth it, especially in these circumstances, to back things before you know for sure if they're going to work. And I make no apologies for that. We're working with many top names to help us deliver testing with a rapid turnaround. Names like Oxford Nanopore and Chronomics and DNA Nudge. For example, one innovative company, Optigene, has produced an early test which is being trialled from today. And it is interesting to us because it is so fast. It doesn't need to be sent to a lab to be processed, and so you get the result on the spot, typically within around 20 minutes. It's already proven effective in early trials, and we want to find out if it will be effective on a larger scale. And we want to support companies like Optigene and others to develop these sorts of innovative projects. We'll monitor its effectiveness very closely, and if it works, we'll roll it out as soon as we can. Now, this is just one of a number of innovative testing technologies that we're pushing forward as fast as the science allows. I will leave no stone unturned, and I want to thank everybody involved for their dedication. The second development I wanted to share today is around antibody tests. These tell you if you have had the virus and have developed antibodies in response that might help you to fight the virus in future. COVID-19 is a new virus, and we're learning more about it every single day. I want to be frank with you about what we don't know as well as what we do know. We're not yet in a position to say that those who test positive in these antibody tests are immune from coronavirus. But as our understanding of the disease improves, the insight these antibody tests provide will be crucial. They can help us to understand how our bodies react to coronavirus and how it's spread across the country. We're backing efforts to develop our own homegrown antibody tests through our UK Rapid Test Consortium, and that work is showing some early promise. And as you know, we've been looking at a whole series of commercial antibody tests. Now, many of these early tests were not reliable enough for clinical use. But we have made some available at small scale. And we now have the results of our antibody surveillance study. This has told us that around 17% of people in London and around 5% or higher in the rest of the country have tested positive for coronavirus antibodies. This was based on a sample. But for the public at large to know whether or not they've had coronavirus, we need antibody tests at larger scale. 2 lab-based products produced by Roche Diagnostics and Abbott Labs have been given a positive evaluation by PHE and approved by the MHRA. And 3 further tests are being assessed right now. And I can announce today that we have signed contracts to supply in the coming months over 10 million tests from Roche and Abbott. From next week, we'll begin rolling these out in a phased way. At first, to health and care staff, patients and residents. The UK government has arranged supplies of these tests on behalf of the devolved administrations, and each devolved nation is deciding how to use its test allocation and how testing will be prioritised and managed locally. This is an important milestone, and it represents further progress in our national testing programme. It's not just about the clinical advances that these tests can bring, although obviously that's important. It's that knowing that you have these antibodies will help us to understand more in the future if you are at lower risk of catching coronavirus, of dying from coronavirus, and of transmitting coronavirus. We're developing this critical science to know the impact of a positive antibody test and to develop the systems of certification to ensure people who have positive antibodies can be given assurance about what they can safely do. History has shown that understanding an enemy is fundamental to defeating it. And in this latest fight, our ingenuity and our brilliant scientists and our scientific curiosity are what will keep us one step ahead of this virus.